You're listening to Operant Innovations, a podcast brought to you by ABA Technologies. This month on Thought Leaders, we're back with Dr. Jesus Rosales-Ruiz as he answers the questions, where do you see the field going? And or where would he like to see the field go? And that sort of brings me into the next question of where do you see the field going, and or where would you like to see the field go?
I think that the field right now, it seems to me that we're at a crossroad. It's like it was inevitable that we will grow. It was inevitable that we were gonna produce a lot of practitioners. But it was also clear that I don't think that we were ready for it. So it is not ready. And right now, I think that we are paying because, the quality of services is going down. The effects that we used to report, they are no longer there. And partly because, we're taking more children. And I'm not sure that we're training, that our training, the way that we're training our students right now is sufficient for them to really do the task on that. So that I don't like, and I see it, and unfortunately there is a lot of money to be made there. So those are reinforcers. So it is really hard to fight those contingencies, and to turn it around. So it's gonna take some time, but I don't like it, but I think that it's fortunate now that the people are complaining. The people are saying, ABBA, they have horror stories, which is not good for us, for the field. And I know that there is a lot of people they're doing really good things, but this certification is sort of getting us in paths that we shouldn't be. But all of that, I'm hopeful that it's going to. It's going to take time, but maybe ABBA or ABA AI now taking that problem into the leadership, that will be something different. But that worries me. I don't think that the students, I would like for all the behavioral analyst students to be trained like I was trained. With more freedom. I understand that we have to specialize more, and that not everybody is looking for the type of education that I got, because, it is a great accomplishment to say, this is a profession, this is a way for me to do a living, and you can do a living now, but the rest is gone, Don Berg used to tell me, when we used to talk about this long time ago, he used to tell me, hey, Jesus, there are several types of behavioral analysts. Some of them, this is just a job like any other job. Others, they try to save the world with behavioral analysis. And others, just like me, they just try to understand how behavior works. And those are the motivations. So that we need to find a way to all of that to collide, to me, conceptually, the way that I would like to go, the field to go, of course, would not be a surprise, is I would like him to be more constructional. I think that we're paying too much attention to bad behavior, and it's not needed. It says, sometimes I even question, really a lot of what you need, it is, if we were going to, to be, what is the simplest way to do it? It is the simplest way to be in behavior change. I'm not talking about research. I can talk about research later on, but talking more about practice. I think that if we are able to set up a goal and envision that goal, if we are able to say, this is what I want to be, and we're able to also identify a beginning point, yeah, then we can use all shaping, chaining, fading, and just build the behavior that we want, and that satisfies the contingency in the environment. And by doing that, the old behavior becomes obsolete. It is not in this case. That is so good. So basically, will be like MapQuest. MapQuest only asks you two questions: where do you want to go, and where are you now? So that would be the minimum things there, because what we're doing now, we, especially the question that where are you now, we don't ask enough. We have manuals like the Ables, the Me book, and all of that, and we go and say, okay, what is the first thing that we need to teach here? Oh, this one. So you try to put that into the children without really paying attention to the prerequisites. I think that a lot of problems could be solved with the constructional approach, basically through shaping. So I would like to see that, more of that, because right now I think that it seems like this bad behavior, people think that just by decreasing the bad behavior or getting rid of the bad behavior, you solve the problem. And I think that we have already plenty of data that tells us no. If you take something out, you have to put something in there. Like Skinner would say, it's a correct behavior is not what is left after you chip away all the errors. It doesn't work like that. You still have to build something. And for that, you have to be purposeful. So I would like, and that will make us, I think that will change the perception of people about behavior analysis. If we switch from focusing too much in bad behavior to the constructional approach. But it's difficult right now because bad behavior is, I would say, is what people pay you for. This is what you get grants for. You have to cure something. So bad behavior, so it becomes like like an entity. And so now, we talk about children. Oh, the child is non-compliant, and we make non-compliance as an entity that we have to get rid of, which is bad because non-compliance is really not a behavior. It's not something that you can do. But instead of that, when people ask, okay, sure, non-compliant, but what will the child be doing? Like, imagine the perfect child. If everything was fine, what will he be doing? Or what the environment will require? Because if you ask those questions, if you become, then your solutions are going to be very different. So they are going to see more constructional, in the sense that you'll see more shaping, more, paying attention to the prerequisites. I think that you will see less corrections and blocking and prompting the children and all of that. So, but I would like for that to be, so that will be basically going back to the past. Yeah. But the problem here, it is that just like it was in the 60s, a lot of people, they don't know how to do it, like how they know how to do it the other way. So we need more samples and more I would say avenues and more models of how to be constructional and how this efficient and is effective and all of that. But so we need to show it and to have programs that teach that more directly. So that is going to take time to.
Well, and do you think too that not only is, it's kind of how the system as a whole is set up right now, and not just necessarily, like the behavior analysis system, but the bigger systems that we're working within,
Yes.
is that like this could even potentially be more of a cultural,
Yes. No,
if you
the
want to call
culture.
it societal, cultural
Yes.
processes, that this is
Yes.
exactly, kind of, we have to try to fit within the process to get paid for what we're doing, but then
Yes.
it's kind of working against what we're actually trying to do sometimes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I know that because of, the program that you've helped found and build, that, UNT is focusing on a lot of these other things like public policy, things, these other aspects. So is that something that, that you would like to see more behavior analysts go into,
Yeah. No.
is,
Definitely.
getting
No.
out and
Definitely.
going into that stuff? Is that one way?
Yes. No. Yes. And analyzing contingencies and all of that. Yes. I would like that. Yeah. And I think that the people, to some extent, are doing that, even though some of the approaches, the way that they are doing it, they don't quite fit with me, but nonetheless they are doing it. The so there is. So we need, like, say, more models. We need to, like, if you were constructional, like right now, a person who looks the behavior from the point of view of the constructional approach, you see bad behavior. I mean, people right now see bad behavior. A person with a constructional orientation will see, oh, reinforcers. I can use that as a reinforcer to build the behavior that I want, and all of that. But this takes time, and one has to be patient, and
Well, and would you be
yeah.
okay too? Sorry. Would you
Mhm.
be okay too with me, reaching back out to you and getting a list of resources to include in this, so that I can,
Exactly. Yeah.
provide
Sure.
the resources to the listeners of this
Uh-huh.
podcast, so that they can be like, oh,
Yes.
this constructional approach, because
Yes.
it's
Yes.
not really that well known of a thing, actually.
No, it's not. It's not. No,
Right.
it is. And what is very interesting is that you know that's the. I can argue that that's the operant way. You know, to me, yeah. You see, to me, one of the you know when Skinner came, reinforcement was there, and of course he systematized it more and all of that. But the idea that wasn't there before Skinner was this idea of you being able to shape behavior bit by bit by bit by bit. That wasn't there. It was all trial and error. Like the Thorndike will talk about trial and error kind of things. So Skinner started with, began with response differentiation. Then that became shaping in the 1948. And then in the 50s, all of that became program instruction, which was all constructional, program instruction, which to me, that was the applied behavior analysis of the 50s. And of course, it ran into the 60s too. But to me, what Gold Diamond did, he took the model of the program instruction and formalized this constructional and pathological, and actually conceptually move it up by making this dichotomy between pathological approaches and constructional approaches. But you know, because by focusing on what you want, you can build a lot. But the but that doesn't sell very well, because
I think we have a problem with that as a field in general.
Yes, yes. No. Yes, yes. Yes. And partly because of the prerequisite or something, or, you know, just different trainings, you know. But that's what to me, that's what I would like it. So I'm trying to do, okay, what can I do to turn this around? At least, you know, even if I don't see it, you know, but just make a contribution there for the future behavior analysts, you know. And there is a lot of literature, so those resources are going to be a bunch of all articles, and just to show really how everybody, almost everybody in the systems were constructional, including Tom Gilbert, you know, because, you know, program instruction was constructional, you know, like Old Diamond will tell you. It was not about, it's, you know, how to correct your misspelling. Say no, it was more about how to teach you correct spelling, you know, how to shape it up. And it makes a lot of difference, you know, but it's very subtle, very subtle. A lot of persons say they think that just because they use shaping or I can say, or yeah, shaping or changing that they are using constructional approach. One important thing, and the constructional approach, you know, also goes along with the functional analysis, because if you hear Gold Diamond, he's always talking about the critical reinforcer, you know, to finding out the critical reinforcer and then do it. And that's very important, you know, to give them that, because otherwise you're just paying people. An example that I give in animal training, I say, like, you know, a lot of dogs have this problem that, you know, they jump on people when they come to greet them, and then jump and mock them, and, you know, like do all kinds of things. So they are doing this because they want the physical contact. And that's one way for them to get in the physical contact, okay? So there the reinforcer is the physical contact. But usually people doesn't engineer that critical reinforcement to shape the dog's behavior. What they do, it is they train in an alternative behavior and give them food. Basically, what I say, if I put it in bad ways, is say they are paying the dog not to jump on people. But they are not really looking at the needs of the dog, because they are, yes, they are using positive reinforcement, but that's not the reinforcer. That's not the critical reinforcer, you know? So the idea will be is, okay, so how can we engineer this petting, you know, as a reinforcer? Like, okay, you know, and basically the alternative will be, okay, you teach them, somebody comes at the dog, and the dog comes and sits in front of the person, and that's the way to ask for the reinforcer, and then the person can go down and pet him. You know, these are two solutions, but the second one goes more into the critical reinforcement than the first one. You know, and I'm afraid that we do a lot that, you know, we're basically not capitalizing in more critical or natural reinforcers, and we're dependent too much on food and these reinforcers,
These
which to me this change.
extrinsic reinforcers.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
yeah, I know. I've noticed when I started reading some more of Israel Gold Diamond that I actually started, the easiest place for me to actually practice some of this
Mm-hmm.
was with my dog.
Yes, yes.
Because there
Mm-hmm.
were some things that, you know, I was just, they're very small things.
Mm-hmm.
But even though, like, yeah, I started realizing that I'm like, oh, that's really like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like I'm learning again, which is
You're
sometimes
running
hard
again.
to, which
Yeah,
is sometimes hard to find when you're not, you know, actively
yeah.
in an academic program or seeking
Mm-hmm.
something out like that. So it kind of feels like I'm training myself in something. It's like I know this stuff, but it's just kind of tweaking how we approach it,
Tweaking.
because we're kind of, I mean, we're taught about it, and it's not like it's some foreign, it's not a foreign language. It's not this, it's just you're just semi tweaking what you're like, how you're doing it. And it's been a really interesting experience, because I'll even catch myself when I'm working with my dog on certain things, and I'll be like, oh no, not Shauna, like, no. like, like, come on, we need the new way, come on, not how you used to do it.
And so, a lot of what it needs to be is to model, to have those models, and also to give the freedom to behavior analysts. Like, there is many reinforcers, and a lot of them are really subtle. But doesn't matter if they are subtle or are good. But the only thing that matters is that they are critical for your subject, or your learner, I should say, subject. So I wish, so I often tell my students that the constructional approach is the future of behavior analysis. And of course, all of them laugh, they no laugh, and they don't believe me, So I'm telling you, you learn this thing because this is going to be the future of behavior analysis. And I'm very sure, I'm not sure if I'm going to see it, but I'm very sure that one day we're going to end up there.
Well, and I think I'm going to have to agree with you. I'm not going to lie. I think that, behavior analysis has had a hard time kind of selling itself as well. And I think this, honestly, the constructional approach is a really good way to sell behavior analysis. It really is. It's kind of the opposite of what behavior analysis has been portrayed to be out there. It's kind of like the opposite. I'm not saying it is the opposite, but it kind of that perception. So I could see that. Is there any other thing or any other way that you would like to see the field go, or students in the field go?
I think that the next thing we need to pay, and which we're doing here, a lot of attention to neuroscience. To me, the experimental analysis of behavior has to include neuroscience. That's the way. Otherwise, will become obsolete. So we have to create those new technologies. We already sort of missed the boat in the 60s by not jumping into physiology, but that's understandable. But this one is, we have to find a way to continue doing EAB, studying about resurgence and behavioral economics and all that, but it had to also be in the context of neuroscience, because we need to belong to that club.
Yep, and that's kind of one thing too that I've been trying to push myself to do as well, is to not necessarily stick with just behavior analytic research, readings, this and that, to really start expanding what I'm reading, what I'm studying, because we each have our own interests and things like that, of course, but like that is a huge field for us to start getting into as well. Well, do you have anything else that you would like to cover today? We've covered a lot.
Yes. No, really. Just to close the neuroscience thing, what I was saying, what we need is a behavior analytic neuroscience, no behavioral neuroscience. It's a little kind. We need a really, really, a thoroughly, I would say, congruent with behavior analysis neuroscience.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. All right. Well,
we covered a lot.
Yeah. And thank you so much. I had such an amazing time listening. I know for people who are listening, they're like, "Why, you didn't even say anything the whole time?" And it's like, no, I'm sitting here listening and responding, and If you,
laughing. I
if
can see your
anybody could see my
your
facial
expressions.
expressions this whole time,
Yeah, that was really good. That kept me going.
these are, and it's like, it's one of those things where, I don't like to interrupt you because I'm having an amazing time listening to these stories. And this is only a very small fraction of the experiences that you've had. So,
Yeah.
so thank you so much
No,
for
thank you for
talking with me
inviting me.
today.
And yeah, we'll be in touch.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Thought Leaders. And as always, if you have questions, comments, feedback, or suggestions, please feel free to reach out to us at operantinnovations@abatechnologies.com.